तो मैं हूँ कमर चीमा और दोस्तों जैसा कि आप देख रहे हैं मेरे साथ मौजूद हैं अनुत्तमा बैनर्जी। अनुत्तमा जो है शी इज़ अ पॉलिटिकल एनालिस्ट, दिल्ली बेस्ड हैं और इन्होंने लंदन स्कूल ऑफ इकोनॉमिक्स से पढ़ी हुई हैं और जवाहरलाल नेहरू यूनिवर्सिटी से और स्टिम्सन सेंटर वाशिंगटन में भी काम करती रही हैं। अनुत्तमा, सबसे पहले तो आपके बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
Thank you so much for the opportunity. आपका भी बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया for this
Thank you.
opportunity.
So, Nutuma, what are you making of this G20 in India? के अंदर क्या mood है? What's it like? How it is being discussed in media, in public? कि ये जो G20 conference हुई है, is it being considered a big success? India is on a global stage. और do you believe कि ये जो इतने बड़े leaders का आना, इसको कैसे देखा जा रहा है? पहले तो ये बताएं.
पहली बात तो ये that the G20 is a very big event and naturally for all Indians it was a matter of great pride कि India was able to host this kind of an event at such a large scale without any difficulty. I mean, I think it is a marker of great leadership on the part of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi for sure, because he was able to envision this and he actually wanted to host the G20 around India's 75th independence day. So it is in sync with that. I think the way that the event has been portrayed in the media is highly positive. सभी को इस बात की बहुत खुशी है कि we got this opportunity और दिल्ली ने इसकी मेज़बानी की. That is also a very big thing. As a Delhiite also I say that because we've taken the initiative, we've taken the lead right from the time of Asian Games to the Delhi CWG and now the G20. It shows the ability of India to host major events, and naturally that's one aspect. Diplomatically also it's a big win for India because we were able to get so many countries together. Also the fact that we were able to invite some other countries including Bangladesh or other major countries like Egypt and among others to the conference was seen as a major highlight because उससे पता चलता है कि there's that vision कि what we can achieve in the future, and of course the inclusion of the African Union as a member of the G20 and now it's G21. That makes it another very important step because it shows कि the charismatic leadership और आगे India और कितने steps ले सकता है to become a face of the global south or become a leader of the global south.
अनुत्तमा, ये बताइएगा कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी हाउ इज बीइंग ट्रीटेड? डू यू थिंक दैट द इंडियंस बिलीव दैट वो एक उनका एक एज गैप है? ठीक है, ऑब्वियसली इंडिया की एक बहुत ज़्यादा यंग पॉपुलेशन है, लेकिन ही इज़ आई थिंक समवेयर अराउंड 73 74 उनकी एज है, बट ही इज़ वेरी एनर्जेटिक, ही इज़ वेरी एक्टिव. G20 से पहले वो इंडिया आसियान समिट पे गए हुए थे. ही इज़ ऑलवेज ऑन द गो. बड़ी एनर्जी है. क्या द इंडियन यूथ फील्स के द प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी जो है उनके अंदर जो एनर्जी है ही कैन डिलीवर देम, और दे बिलीव के नहीं उनके अंदर देयर शुड बी चेंज ऑफ लीडरशिप? क्योंकि इस वक्त एक पार्टी का जो फेस है, ही इज अ फेस ऑफ वन पार्टी एंड ही इज बेसिकली अ फेस ऑफ इंडिया. टू द फैक्ट देयर इज नो लीडर एट द मोमेंट ऑफ हिज स्टेचर इन इंडियन पॉलिटिक्स. यूथ कैसे देखती है प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी?
I think overall the youth views him rather positively right from 2014, the year he was elected. In fact, as the chief minister of Gujarat also, I have relatives in Ahmedabad and other places. He was viewed rather positively even there. And this ability to hop, skip and jump, as I might say it, is something that is part of his personality right from the time he was the chief minister of Gujarat. So he's always been very energetic, and that's something which is a positive, I think. To say that he's 70 plus but still able to do so much is remarkable, a feat, because I don't know how I'll be at 70, but the youth views it rather positively. I mean, I think it also shows that he enjoys the work that he does. I mean, foreign policy, for instance, is very much a part of his domestic policy as well. So he understands that he needs to deliver on that front to be re-elected. I mean, G20 is one of the major things on which his re-election might take place next year. And naturally, because of that, he's very, very focused on it. So that entails a lot of traveling, that entails a lot of hard work. The MEA as well as the PMO take it very seriously. So it has also broadened and deepened an understanding of foreign policy within the domestic audience, because when you see a very active prime minister who is taking India overseas, it helps to build a certain image of the country overseas. And that was the need of the hour because Indians have been traveling abroad since the 70s, 80s. I mean, if I were to talk about my own family, my parents, my grandparents, and now me as a student, I think it has helped that we have a prime minister who's willing to showcase what India is all about to an international audience. Because उससे क्या होता है कि जो there may have been certain inhibitions or certain a kind of stereotypical understanding of the country that may have existed. Now it's changing because people view it more positively. People view Indians more positively. If there was any trust deficit that was there, or there were concerns about how business was conducted, Prime Minister Modi has tried to address those concerns and tried to bring about a change. Of course, a lot has to be done even now, but then that is something that the youth certainly views very positively.
बिल्कुल ठीक है। अच्छा ये बताइएगा कि ये जो कॉरिडोर इंडिया ने जो वहाँ प्रपोज किया और प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी जो हैं वो उसमें इंडिया मिडल ईस्ट यूरोपियन यूनियन का, डू यू बिलीव एज ए पॉलिटिकल एनालिस्ट, आप लिखती भी हैं, आप पॉलिटिक्स को भी देखती हैं, आपको लगता है कि इंडिया ये कर पाएगा? एक कर पाएगा? सेकंड, व्हाट इज द मोटिव बिहाइंड इट इज टू काउंटर चाइना BRI, it is to emerge as a player in the Middle East, or it is India is doing to bring Saudi Arabia in American bloc as well. आप कैसे देखती हैं इस कॉरिडोर को या इस विजन को?
To give a more simplified understanding, I think it is also a connectivity project. So India wants to improve connectivity with all its neighbors. I think such plans have been in the making vis-a-vis Bangladesh, connecting the Northeast, Act East policy. अगर आप देखें, the Look East policy, Act East policy, जिसे that was also envisaged with a similar goal. Similarly, India has seen a lot of, especially under Prime Minister Modi, India has seen many diplomatic, we have made diplomatic overtures towards the Middle East during Prime Minister Modi's era. And from 2014 to the present time, we have seen that the Middle East has emerged as a major ally. I mean, and I think the fact that we have benefited so much is also a reflection of the fact that Prime Minister Modi wants to improve connectivity links. You should not forget that a huge Indian diaspora lives there, and it's been a long-standing demand. And obviously, with time, जब हमारे रिश्ते बेहतर हुए हैं, तो there has been this view कि we need to improve connectivity with the region. तो उस तरह देखिए, क्योंकि अगर आप देखें तो फ्लाइट्स के कंसिडरेशन से वी हैव मोर फ्लाइट्स नाउ टू द मिडल ईस्ट. तो अब उसको बढ़ा के ये इनिशिएटिव भी उसी तरह लिया गया है. ऑफ कोर्स व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट द जियोपॉलिटिकल एस्पेक्ट्स, yes, it will help to establish India as a player, but then there is a power vacuum. There is that concern within the Middle East as the United States is moving away from the region, where India can play a very good role and a very positive role in the region, not as a mediator or anything, but as a stakeholder, as a positive stakeholder who can help with business, who has Indians have a very Indians have been part of the establishment, have had a role to play in different regions, whether in the United States or in the UK, and we've seen कि ज़्यादातर there is no trust deficit. People who are working, the Indian diaspora who's working in different companies abroad, we've seen that the local population trusts them. तो उसी basis पे Prime Minister Modi or even the Indian population is viewed positively. So therefore, India has been welcomed into the region. मुझे लगता है people to people ties को भी बढ़ावा मिलेगा, connectivity projects को भी बढ़ावा मिलेगा. सिर्फ इसको as a counter to China देखना is not right. Have really wanted to make the BRI work. I mean, it's been almost a decade. They could have established a lot more. I mean, that is my point. I mean, India did not launch this project only thinking about the BRI, I think.
ये बिल्कुल सही है, लेकिन obviously India didn't join the BRI one, and India kept opposing BRI wherever it went. And आपको पता है कि Italian Prime Minister, while sitting in Delhi, said that I am getting out of the BRI. So it means obviously आप इसे कनेक्टिविटी भी कहेंगे, लेकिन ऑब्वियसली इज समथिंग काउंटर टू इट, बिकॉज आपने एक ऑलरेडी इस तरह के एस्टैब्लिश प्रोजेक्ट की मुखालफत भी की है और वहाँ से लोग भी निकाले हैं. सो बट आई एग्री प्राइमरली द मेन पर्पस इज कनेक्टिविटी, लेकिन
We
बाकी
live in
एंगल
a
भी.
multipolar world. India has never said that India does not believe in the idea of the entire summit. The G20 summit was Vasudeva Kutumbakam, that the world is a family, and China was very much invited to the summit. It chose not to be there. So that's another story.
No, the
But
Chinese were there, but the president was not there. The
yeah, I
premier
mean,
was
the
there.
Chinese was no, in the sense that we would have, I mean, it would have made a bigger difference. I mean, if Xi Jinping himself visited India, it would have obviously sent out a certain signal ki haan, obviously there were concerns related to how the war is taking place in Russia, and there were other concerns. But if you were to look at the IMEC as a project, the IM, the connectivity project, yes, we have our concerns. We had our concerns related to the BRI, but that was genuine because obviously, as things are unfolding, China and India are emerging as contenders. You know, there is competition, conflict, and cooperation that's coexisting in this era. So it's there. But ऐसा नहीं है कि China and India uh, have a completely. I mean, there's a, you know, there are no diplomatic ties. तो वो भी है. There
How
are
has
points of
India?
convergence and divergence at the same time.
अनुत्तमा, आप ये बताइए कि क्या इंडिया ने चाइना को मिस किया है? बिकॉज अगर शी जिनपिंग होते तो थोड़ी मोदी साहब ने जब ही तो वैसे ही वो डाल लेते हैं, हर एक को हक कर लेते हैं, ही इज नोन फॉर दैट. तो आपको लगता है कि वो एक हाउ द इंडिया इज टॉकिंग अबाउट एब्सेंस ऑफ शी जिनपिंग एज ए, क्या कहा जाता है कि बहुत सारे लोगों ने कहा कि शी जिनपिंग वांटेड टू अंडरमाइन द G20, but somehow with all these developments and the consensus document in India, G20, uh, the Xi Jinping has failed. What do you make of that? Miss कर रहा है इंडिया चाइनीज सदर को?
देखिए, personally considering the number of conflicts that we have with the Chinese on the border, Xi Jinping, I mean, I, as an analyst, because we believe in conflict resolution, if he had been present, maybe we could have had a bilateral discussion there between our Prime Minister and the Chinese President, which could have probably helped in resolution of certain conflicts, or at least forwarded to better manage conflicts. I don't see resolution happening anytime soon, but at least for the management of those conflicts on the border. Because I'm an optimist, I believe that we should keep talking. Negotiation is the way forward. So us lihaz se, yes, because it was a missed opportunity for negotiation. But from the multilateral perspective, obviously it benefited India because we were able to go ahead and get the best out of what we could from this summit. Obviously, but then अगर आप इसे connectivity से link करेंगे and among other issues, तो ऐसा नहीं है कि our Prime Minister has not invited the Chinese President earlier. He was very much there in Mamalapuram for a summit a couple of years ago. And this is a very interesting trend. He tried to engage with all stakeholders in the past. I mean, अगर आप पाकिस्तान की भी बात करें, he was one of the people who went on a surprise visit to Lahore as well. And he invited the Chinese president. But then that has not benefited India in the long run because Chinese incursions have increased. But after Doklam and Galwan, very little space is there for engagement between the two countries. So ऐसा नहीं है कि we missed him or we didn't miss him. I wouldn't be able to say that that's the way to look forward. But as a person who believes that negotiation is the way forward, I thought that his presence would have been better. So that's one thing. Yeah, that's my personal opinion, of course.
Okay.
Other people may disagree.
Yeah, we agree to disagree at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, Anuttama, how do you see this जो मोहम्मद बिन सलमान का विजिट था, एंड पर्टिकुलरली ही स्टेड फॉर वन मोर डे इन इंडिया, एंड कल उनको बड़ा वेलकम और बड़ा किया गया. Why was something that India wants to get so much closer with Saudi Arabia? Is it India felt its distance from Muslim world for so long?
See, we have a Muslim population as well, and more than that, the ties with the Gulf are civilisational and age-old. To say that we want to become closer to them now is not true. We've always had very good relations. It's just that those relations have now become stronger as India builds its economy, we have more to offer them and they have more to offer us. So it's on that economic pivot that the relationship has strengthened. That's one thing. I mean, India and Pakistan also have a shared history with the Iranians and so forth. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि this relationship has only uh, come out in the open now. It's been there, but आज उसको ज़्यादा अहमियत मिल रही है because we have seen growth in the relationship like never before in the last few years. So that's because of the emergence, that's because of the convergence on the economic front. आप अगर ये चीज़ notice करें तो मैं as an analyst I have seen this. Also we agree on similar subjects and issues, whether it's counterterrorism or infrastructure development and other issues. Also the I2U2 has given India a space within the Middle East. um, we were able to come out with our relationship with Israel also in the open. Then improvement in ties with Israel, among other states. जो मिडल ईस्ट के बाकी देश हैं उनके अपने ताल्लुकात इसराइल के साथ जैसे बेहतर हुए हैं, इट्स हेल्प टू ब्रिंग इन स्टेबिलिटी विद इन द रीजन. जब वहाँ पे स्टेबिलिटी होगी तो वो भी मिडल ईस्ट के बाहर देख सकते हैं. एंड इंडिया हैज emerged as a reliable partner in growth and development projects. So stability within the Middle East has also acted as a big factor in enabling better relations with India. So that's there. And because India enjoys relations with all the countries, including adversarial allies like adversarial states like Israel and Iran, naturally India emerges as one of the countries जो region को भी forward ले जा सकता है, और obviously हमारे लिए भी वो एक it's a mutually beneficial relationship. And of course, as I mentioned before, people to people ties, because the Indian diaspora is very active there, has played a very crucial role in building bridges with the local populations as well. The local populations view Indians positively. That helps in um, you know in that is a factor that has certainly played a big role in also improving ties or ameliorating ties with the region.
So अनुतमा ये बताइएगा कि ये चाइना ने they have welcomed this corridor, economic corridor, but India was always critical of China's corridor. इसकी क्या वजह है? आप क्या समझते हैं कि चाइनीज समझते हैं कि वो जो बात करते हैं कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव स्ट्रेंथ, शेयर्ड फ्यूचर, कि भाई द फ्यूचर इज ऑल, कि हमें मिलके, या इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रेंथ की बात करते हैं, वो कहते हैं जहाँ जहाँ बिजनेस हो रहा है दैट इज गुड. आपको क्या लगता है चाइना वेलकम करता है? इंडिया ने इसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन मार्क लगाए थे चाइना के इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर पे. इज दिस चाइनीज ये कोई डिप्लोमेसी खेल रहे हैं, या कि वो समझते हैं कि ठीक है लेट देम डू दिस बिकॉज इन द पास्ट देयर वाज ए बिल्ड बैक बेटर वर्ल्ड B3W $40 ट्रिलियन का प्रोजेक्ट अनाउंस हुआ था, लेकिन वो पता ही नहीं चला कहाँ गया है, बस अनाउंसमेंट हो खत्म हो गई. या वो समझते हैं कि ये इतना बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट है, ना शुरू होना ना बनना, तो सिर्फ हमें मुखालफत करने की क्या जरूरत है? What do you make of this statement?
First of all, it's a good thing that they have welcomed the project, but ऐसा नहीं है कि इंडिया ये प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट नहीं कर पाएगा. I don't think that is the case, because obviously the cost benefit analysis must have been done before announcing the project. ये नहीं हो सकता कि बिना इन फैक्टर्स को कंसिडर किए इतना बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट एक ग्लोबल प्लेटफॉर्म पे अनाउंस हो जाए. As far as China is concerned, India's concerns relate to China because China wants India to acquiesce to the idea of a China leading South Asia and the larger region, whereas India is also an important player, and South Asia has traditionally been India's backyard. So in that sense, India feels that China wants to, limit India's role in its own region. And that is why India has always had concerns related to the BRI. Also, parts of the BRI were crossing through the disputed territory in Kashmir. So that was the concern that India had actually mentioned a couple of times, which is the reason why they opposed it. ऐसा नहीं है कि India is opposed to connectivity projects per se. I don't think that is the case, obviously. And China has not been able to complete some of its own projects because of incurring debts. जो debt trap diplomacy की बात करी गई है. I mean, if you look at Sri Lanka, in Hambantota or other cases, चाहे वो Chittagong port है या जहाँ भी इन्होंने ports build किए, the countries are facing issues, even in Southeast Asia, be it Malaysia or other countries. So that way, obviously, it's a big thing for India. It is going to be economically challenging, but I'm sure if we are careful and if we are able to take this forward, then we will be able to take successfully complete the project. China अगर इसे वेलकम करता है, I see, as I see it positively, but then we'll have to see the Chinese reaction in the future as well. It has also welcomed India's um, you know Chandrayaan 3 mission success, which is a good thing. Maybe China is trying to send overtures to India to come to the negotiating table to discuss other issues. We can view it that way. It really depends on how um, things play out in the future, in the near future especially.
अनुत्तमा, ये एक आखिरी सवाल आपसे करना है, दैट इज के बहुत सारे लोगों का ये कहना है कि इंडिया जो है वो आउट ऑफ द वे जाके मुस्लिम वर्ल्ड से इंगेज कर रहा है। इजिप्ट को बुलाया गया, ओमान को बुलाया गया, आई थिंक नाइजीरिया को स्पेशल इनविटेशन था इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग, एंड देन कुछ और ऐसे मुल्क थे जिनको एक स्पेशल बुलाया गया G20 पे। बांग्लादेश इटसेल्फ एक मुस्लिम कंट्री होने के नाते श्रीलंका को नहीं बुलाया गया, लेकिन बांग्लादेश को बुलाया गया। What's in the mindset of Prime Minister Modi? Do you believe कि वो समझते हैं कि माजी में इंडिया मुस्लिम वर्ल्ड से दूर रहा है, OIC को मजबूत किया गया था, कश्मीर के हवाले से बातें हो रही, so it's a right time to tell the Muslim world what is India's strength and start dealing us and start seeing us in a new lens? What do you think of that?
Um, First of all, the Muslim world consists of more than 20 countries, right from if you look at Iran to Morocco, जहाँ पे recently earthquake हुआ, and India has tried to have diplomatic relations with all the countries without taking into consideration कि they are basically Muslim or they are of a different race or anything. क्योंकि Turks are different from Persians are different from the other the Moroccans and among other people, because there are various permutations and combinations. For instance, the Egyptians. Um, this region has obviously been an important part of our diplomacy for years, because it is India's neighborhood. I mean, we have right from the time of Prime Minister Modi, or even before that. अगर आप मनमोहन सिंह के ज़माने में देखें तो ties were improving even then. Prime Minister Modi has actually taken it forward, and because diplomatic ties and diplomacy as well as foreign policy has received the kind of media attention it has during Modi's time, ये बातें और ज़हनी तौर पे लोग के सामने आई हैं. It has become a part of the public discourse. To say that he has himself only tried to engage the Muslim countries for a particular reason um, would actually undermine his larger diplomacy, because he has tried to do that with every region. I mean, and that is primarily what I see as his success as a prime minister. His role in engaging the the neighborhood, whether it's the even Central Asia for that matter. I mean, he has tried to engage them. To say that ये सिर्फ इसलिए हैं क्योंकि मुस्लिम मुल्क हैं, I would not agree with that. लेकिन definitely इससे उनको domestically भी फायदा हुआ है, because that has probably shown a more moderate image of him as a prime minister when it comes to engaging with his own domestic Muslim population, and it will provide him a certain kind of जिसे कहते हैं, उनको एक मौका मिलेगा कि अपनी डोमेस्टिक कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी से, जो मुस्लिम डोमेस्टिक कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी है, उनके साथ एंगेजमेंट का एक अवसर, एक मौका मिले. Because obviously when and also you have to see it in both ways, क्योंकि उनकी तरफ से भी the response has been positive, because again I have come to this point before as well कि economics has played a big role here. Economics has actually trumped politics in this case. So where both sides have benefited. In fact, अगर आप देखें तो the ruling dispensations in the Muslim world today are also moderate, liberal, who want better ties. चाहे वो ओमान में आप देखें या फिर if you see the let's take the example of Oman only. Throughout, even before Haitham bin Tariq came to power, the relations were very cordial. They were good. Um, and since Prince Mohammed bin Salman has come to power, obviously he has adopted a more modern approach to policy making, and obviously he wants to portray a more moderate, perhaps modern outlook when it comes to looking at Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has its own vision for the future. All the Muslim states, in fact, Oman, UAE, they have their vision 2030, 2040. And usme kahin na kahin what they are focusing on is removing, or at least reducing their dependence on oil and moving towards a greener economy, a better future for their own people, for their own citizenry, as well as uh, uh, carving, or paving the way for economic growth, which is not just dependent on their traditional sources of energy. So usme India also has a role to play, because we are also looking at doing the same thing, whether it's our pivot towards hydrogen or other sources of energy, renewable, so that we become an economy focusing on renewable energies. ये हमारा भी focus रहा है. तो as both sides are talking about similar things, where we want convergence, that has actually naturally helped the two regions to come together. It doesn't have to do only to with the fact that there's a convergence of faith. There is a sizable Indian population that is Muslim. Obviously, वो भी एक factor है. लेकिन हमें इसको we have to see it as a collective. We have to see this holistically. I think that is very important.
Thank you very much, Anutama. It was a pleasure talking to you, and you shared your perspective that what Delhi thinks about all these developments and what youth thinks of Prime Minister Modi. Thank you very much for
So
your
much.
time and perspective. बहुत शुक्रिया.
I'm very grateful. Thank you so much.